Good morning. Today I'm going to be just processing my writing inbox and some articles that I've been reading. This will be a pretty casual session, more for me to practice not saying and so much, and also just to show what my process kind of looks like. I know it's early for a lot of people. It's early for me on a Saturday, but this is usually when I try to kind of go through and start my day by doing a little reading and processing. So here I have my things to process page, and I don't do anything special here as part of the Idea Factory that I streamed a couple weeks ago. It's just a pretty typical empty page with a few notes and then linked references. So basically anything that has this things to process link in the status, I am using as a sort of marker to go through and do something with my highlights. So usually in the morning I'll go through and kind of scan through these, see what looks interesting to revisit, and I'll go through and start doing progressive summarization. So I'm going to start that here and try to figure out what looks the most interesting. There are a lot of tweets lately I've been saving with Readwise. Cortex Futura's article. Maybe I'll do that one first. Although this podcast with Scott Kelly was really interesting too. So let's start with algorithms of thought. Depending on how quick this goes, maybe I'll do a second article and then get into the writing inbox. So this is a kind of standard article layout as imported directly from Readwise. And if you watch the Information OS video or the Idea Factory live stream, you'll know that the import hasn't been processed at all because these headers haven't been rendered. So very first thing I always do is just go ahead and render them. And all you have to do is replace the space with the space. And that tells Roam to go ahead and render that. Okay, yeah, my highlights from this were pretty short. So there's an algorithm of thought. Algorithms of thought. Our procedures think through a problem or situation, solve it. I usually like to highlight these kind of definitional notes. Let's see if I can remember the correct order to do highlights and bold at the same time. Oh, there we go. So I have a note here that I'd argue that this isn't too dissimilar from mental models, even if models generally are descriptive. Models kind of guide these algorithms of thought. Mental models kind of guide the algorithms of thought anyways. So I'm going to pull that into my literature notes and make that look a little nicer. And I go back and forth on whether I want to do any linking in the literature notes. So I'm going to go ahead and actually do that. That way, if I'm looking at mental models or something, I can have this at hand if I'm just looking at the main page for mental models. Okay. And so I will throw this under here. Hopefully this time around too, the text is a little easier to read. It seems like it's fine on the streaming software that I'm using, which is Streamlabs. So far, I really like it. But yeah, it looks it looks a little bit better. But if you're watching this, if you join the stream or if you're watching the recording, let me know in the comments how the text looks, because it's kind of hard to tell for me. But looks readable at least. I do like also highlighting these examples. Examples are really useful to kind of get a deeper understanding, as I'm sure most of you are aware and have used examples for this before, but they're really helpful for just really understanding the concept. So I like to highlight those kind of as a rule. This one, it's not going to work. And so these were my main notes. I didn't grab too much from this article. Hey, Ebe. Glad you could join. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm probably not, but definitely let me know in the future if I'm butchering it. So what I'll do is in the literature notes, I'll probably just add the example. Like I usually do with literature notes, I try to put them in my own words as much as possible. And I'll go ahead and link this. Thanks. Make that singular. I try to make sure everything is singular that I link, even if it's a little awkward. Actually, I can do this and just do a link. And then from this, so this is done. So I like to remove these kind of guiding notes that I keep for my literature notes. I do the same thing for transient notes and ideas and summary. So I'll write a general transient note here as well that describes the algorithm of thought. It kind of combines both of the literature notes, since this is kind of a distillation. So maybe using proscribed wrong, but we'll keep it like that just for now. Then I'll go ahead and link that. And because even though I didn't take the literature note of the definition, I could, and just kind of maybe a little bit too much. I'm going to just use the highlight directly. I try to stay kind of fuzzy with whether I use highlights or literature notes as sources for my transient notes. I like to maintain flexibility as much as I can. Okay. No ideas really from this. And because I didn't take too many notes, I'm not going to worry about summarizing it. So now that I'm done building this out, actually, I did forget something here. And it's going to be hard to see because of where I put the webcam, but I can actually move myself up. But I want to add a waiting tag here so that when we go to the writing inbox, we can go ahead and process it. So I'll also add a core text feature person note so that I can, if I just want to search for them, I can find their page and anything else that they've written. And then we'll set this to process, and we'll remove the things to process link, so I don't re-encounter that and reprocess it. And I will put algorithm of thought, mental model, because it kind of relates to that. Add Roam. And yeah, that looks pretty good. That was a short one. So what time is it? 1:50. Okay. I'm going to jump to the writing inbox just so that there's a little variety of material. I want to make sure I actually do this and also show off what a kind of full-fledged populated writing inbox looks like for me. So I have my research topics. I'm not going to do anything with those today. I actually am rethinking what to do about the actual query here, because it ends up just showing the entire Kanban board, which is not really what I'm looking for. And I'm not doing any research today, so I can actually just collapse it, but you can see some of these things I'm thinking about. But yeah, the display of this is kind of odd. I think it just has to do with the Kanban board. So when I actually want to look at my research topics, I'll typically just jump into the actual research page. And usually I do any of my research. I spend about an hour, or try to spend an hour twice a week. That's more aspirational than anything else, though. But this is just a traditional Kanban board. It's not like the other ones that I have that are filled by queries. But the research topics are a little fuzzier in general, so I don't add too much structure to that whole process. And that's a very early stage thing. So I like to, with the writing inbox, start at the bottom, start with my ideas. And so with my ideas, these are usually seedlings for either like an engineering project, a writing project, a video, something like that. So what I'll do is I'll look at these, or even a research topic. So is it possible to build referent power? This would probably be a research topic where I go and kind of dive into this idea of referent power and different types of power. But right now I'm not terribly enthralled by that, so I'm not going to do that yet. This is interesting. This is an old, for me at least, article that I brought in probably a few months ago. What happens when technology has taken over most of the demands for both crystallized and fluid intelligence. So this would probably be a writing project that would have a heavy research component. So what I think I'll do is add an article that will just have this title, or an article idea rather. And so what I'll do is I'll make a note to research crystallized and fluid intelligence a little more. Those are terms from cognitive psychology. My background's in more the cognitive and behavioral neuroscience side of things. So, and I also just studied hearing and attention. So I need to refresh myself on these things. So what I will do is I'll create a new page. I like to namespace. Yeah, I definitely need to start playing with smart blocks. It's actually on my to-do list, and it's been overdue for a little bit. It's just trying to pare down all the things I work on at once so I can actually finish some stuff. So, all right, new page. Even though it's a very long title, this will probably not end up being the title of the article. And that is not the right shortcut. Here we go. So having the status filled in as waiting in article ideas will fill in the Kanban board on article ideas. So I'll hop over here real quick, and you see the first thing, article, what happens when technology is taken over, most of the demands for both crystallized and fluid intelligence. So we'll go back. So that's just the nice thing of having those auto query filled Kanban boards. I'll add some tags here. Let's throw in transhumanism because I want to get very speculative with it. Singularity, cognition, intelligence. I'll have fluid and crystallized intelligence down under resources probably. Not going to worry about due date, completed date, or Trello card. I'm not using Trello anymore really for doing my articles or any managing of that. I keep that all in Roam. Resources, I'm going to just throw in fluid intelligence, crystallized. Yeah, that's Alfred. It's super fast. I really love it. I know everyone's kind of tied to whatever text expander they use, and Alfred has the limitations where it's just Mac only and it costs a little bit of money, but it's worth it. I really enjoy it. It's fast. You can generate pretty much anything with it, and scripting it's a lot of fun if you like to code at all. But that, I think scripting workflows, this is just a regular template, but scripting workflows is pretty powerful. I'm gonna have to start doing that in Elixir now since I'm teaching myself that. And so with this template, I have a plan. And so do research, generate keywords. That's just so the article will be discoverable, create the outline. So this is my general template for creating articles or for my writing that I publish on my own website. And I'll apply children here as text. And so these are my publishing steps that are in my templates folder, and in my public Roam database, that template is available on the templates page, and that's on my Gumroad page. So this just has a link to ways to kind of investigate headlines that will drive traffic. I like kind of follow it a little bit. It's just more of a guideline of how to generate a good title. So because this title will not be the actual article title. And that's pretty much all I'll do. I also want to get I really like the new block search, by the way. So I want to try to find this article. I'm going to just, actually, I'll just jump back to my writing inbox. And of course, I am not able to find oh, there it is. Okay. So how Roam research is disrupting cognition. So I'll look at my notes for that. And so now I have an article idea. And this resources will remind me that I need to spend a little time doing research on this. That's driven, it's not research for research's sake, but or for research's sake. It's research directed for the purpose of some article. So I'll probably keep it here. I won't necessarily make a new entry in my research page. It may end up being useful to do so, but in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll jump to this block. Actually, I'll do this. I'll just jump to the article. And this is a tweet thread. Yeah, so this is from September. So I'll make this processed, and then that's not what I wanted. I'll do a link to the article idea. Typo. So now I'm linked back. So when I start to work on this article, I'll have this linked reference, and I can go and check these notes, and I can start doing some research, making some evergreen notes there. So that's one idea processed. Let's jump back to the writing inbox and continue. I'll probably just continue doing this for, let's see what time is it, 11, probably another 15, 20 minutes, depending on how long the inspiration lasts. Okay, any other ideas? So I have this idea to do a video on how I do task management in Roam. I think I already made a page. I might have made a page for this already, so let's see. Nope. Okay, so we'll make a new, let's go ahead and copy the block ref here. And that's just saying my journal, so it's not really anything that I need to link back for the inspiration. Although I might just to maintain that linkage so I don't accidentally go back and look at and be like, oh, hey, I say I processed this, but I don't actually think I did. I do that self-doubt thing quite a lot, so let me just double check. Yeah, I don't have anything around task management room, so actually, let me just double check in my video ideas. This page is the same exact layout as the article ideas, so it's not anything. Let's see, my mind room, idea factory, weekly planning. So I have weekly planning, but I don't have task management. So I guess what I'll do with task management is cover kind of my daily notes and how that ties back to weekly planning. I want to see something. I want to make sure I use the right layout, because I think I basically, yeah, I use pretty much the same layout for my writing projects. So I'll just change this to video ideas. Okay. And I'll put the block graph to the original article or the original note. I will add so I'm marking this as a prerequisite. Actually, this should probably come out of resources. So the reason I'm doing this as a prerequisite is that a lot of my workflow kind of starts with my weekly plan, and that informs the rest of my daily task management stuff. So so what I'd probably do in this is make it a video series, start with how I do the weekly planning, and then how that feeds into, then part 2 would be how that feeds into kind of my daily task management and how I do that, because there is some non-weekly planning stuff that goes into my daily task management, but it's so reliant on that it doesn't really make sense to do the daily task management without the other. So let's go task management, Roam, YouTube, related goals. Well, that's not really a goal, that's just a research page. And I can take out some of these. I think I need to sit down and make a dedicated video project snippet in Alfred, because I do have one. Okay. So this is a problem with having so many of these snippets and templates, is if you don't use them very often, you definitely forget that they exist. So what I'll do is I'll just go up, I'll probably just go up to here, and then I can merge things. I can delete all this, because I already have that. Resources I have. And all right, perfect. So it is very similar to my article or writing project template. The plan's a little bit different. So one of the things I've been doing lately is this kind of tweet storm and outline. So when I have the outline of what a video and article I'm going to do, I'll kind of break it down into a tweet storm and just see what the feedback is on it. I think that's really useful for if you have a good follower base, and I do. I follow pretty much everyone back, but it's a great little community, and so I'll send that out, kind of seeing what the interest is, because if no one's interested in it or no one wants to see it, then it doesn't make sense to do. I've gotten some feedback already on people wanting to see how I do task management and my weekly planning in Roam, so that's good. But I'll put out the outline because that way I can see too what people are interested in. Someone might say, "Oh, hey, I want to see such and such thing that I may probably have not even thought of." So that's a really useful way of getting some feedback early on before even starting writing the script. I also learned the hard way that I should write a script when I'm doing my videos. So the Information OS one that I released last week, I think, finally came out. I actually filmed twice. The first time I was just kind of like how I'm doing this live stream, kind of off the seat of my pants and more casual thing. And I ended up spending a ton of time editing out all the ums and ahs and trying to make it make sense. And it was not good. And then I was also narrating it as I was going through the process, which made it a lot more difficult for me. So I kind of gave up on that, found some good editing software that wasn't Loom. Loom's good for quick screencasts, but for full videos, some I like something with a little more power to it. And so I started using, let's see if I can find the ScreenFlow, which has a pretty powerful editing suite. It's also really easy to use because I've never done video editing before. And so then I recorded the voice track separately with a script, and that made it so much easier to avoid kind of awkward pauses and the ums and ahs. And I'm still practicing that for this kind of synchronous speaking, but for doing an actual video, writing a script is really helpful. So I'll do that. I'll film the screen sharing parts, edit all that together, record the voiceovers. Usually somewhere around here I have record the voice track because I'm still kind of figuring out my process. But yeah, so that original video got filmed twice. And 1 second. Sorry about that. I have very loose connections. I live in a very old building. It was built in the 1800s, and it seems like the wiring hasn't been updated since then. So the outlets are super loose, and it's really easy to knock out my plugs that are keeping all this together. Yeah, I like having the talking head parts in the videos. It makes it harder when you're editing and doing a separate voice track, but I'm still playing with it, and I'd like to get more of my beautiful face on my videos. And I think people like to see an actual human most of the time too. I think the exception I've seen is programming videos where people just want to see the code that you're writing. But I don't plan on doing any coding videos anytime soon. It's very stressful, and I like to let myself get distracted while I'm coding. And that doesn't work in videos and live streams. So, okay. So this one's pretty much done. I'll jump back to this block and just mark it processed. And we'll jump back to the writing inbox. Are we on time? Still pretty good. Okay, so the ideas are pretty easy to process. They're just, I turn them into like a research topic page or a video project page or article project or coding project. So, and there's still a lot here. A job board for people transitioning to software development. I actually really want to work on this at some point, but I just don't have the time yet. So if anyone is thinking about building something like that, let me know, because I've been there. My background's not in coding, so it's really difficult to figure out what good incentives there are for people that want to make that switch and companies are willing to hire them and grow them. Let's see. So these are my transient notes. These are just, obviously these are just the query results. what I try to do is try to scan these for ones that I can turn into evergreens where there's a cluster of notes that describe an idea. And I'm still trying to get better at building evergreens and building out my library. It's not very big, but I'm trying to make a high quality evergreen note library. So I'm not at the point where I have that critical mass where I can just write an article and have 60% of it done just from my evergreen notes. But I'm trying to read enough and process enough to where I get there. So I have this big backlog of transient notes where I'm trying to make it so that I have enough density to actually create evergreen notes. One thing I started doing too for coding, anyone that's learning how to program or anything like that, I notice a lot of the things I learned work more as reference material than into like full-blown evergreen notes. So I've started adding for some of the things I'm learning. So I'm teaching myself Elixir, this reference guide tag. I definitely recommend it. It's really you don't have to do anything with the page, do any queries or anything like that. But when you start kind of separating between transient notes and reference guide sort of notes, a reference guide note to me is a simple note that just tells you what something does. It's very straightforward. Um, this allows you to build up your own set of documentation for something. So for me, for Elixir that I'm learning, all collections in Elixir except tuples are enumerable. This just needs to be Elixir. So it's just a quick statement of fact, and you can go back and easily search them, and then you can filter based on the topic. So I'm only including ones that mention Elixir. But if I had, so I could have like Perl in here or linked lists, and that'd be my reference guide that I've built up based on my gaps in knowledge and the things I've learned. So this time will tell if it's useful or not on its own. But I think just having a centralized place for these sort of things is helpful. That probably won't turn into evergreen notes. For programming languages, at least, you're kind of reinventing the wheel by just saying, oh, this pipe operator does this. It doesn't really work in the evergreen note philosophy, I guess, but it's still valuable information to hoard, at least if you're a hoarder like I am. So let's go through some of these and see where there might be clusters or something that we can just directly take into an evergreen. So I like this idea of being able to deeply understand something you're reading by giving a talk. Part of me wants more sources on that, but it seems to be such a well-known thing that I don't know. There's enough. I don't think there's enough density there yet to actually create an evergreen. This is where I kind of struggle is going from transient note to evergreen. Having the density and also being able to create kind of a fully fleshed out evergreen note is kind of difficult. On my coding projects, I have this lessons learned header. Definitely recommend it if you do any sort of project-based anything. I know I personally learn a lot with project-based learning, so that's where I keep every kind of lesson that I've learned from running into some kind of wall and turn that into something that could probably turn into like an article or something. So this could be, I want to add Python packaging. Actually, Python import. Let's do that. That way, because I think this could definitely turn into an evergreen note on how to package things or how to import things in Python. I learned this with this Flask project that I'm working on, where basically if you need to override just like some method that's instead of in an object that's just in a module, how to go about doing that. Let me check. I'm going to check this tag and just see what my other linked references are. Okay, this is just a how to. That's a very old project that I worked on. This could also be a reference guide sort of thing. So maybe I think it could turn into an evergreen. I'm just not sure exactly how I want to attack that yet, but let's revisit that in a second. I've done a lot with DynamoDB lately. So let's see. Elasticsearch. Search service. I think this is the Lindy effect, which I want to. Yep, I have something on here. So this could be something we can start thinking about. I hate that. I noticed this bug where sometimes you try to click away into a title. Let's see if we can recreate it. Sometimes you try to click away somewhere. Yeah, there you go. It'll just take you back to the actual query itself. I don't know why that happens. It's very random and chaotic. So let's see. Let's open this. The sidebar as well. See what else I have there. Like this coliseum of ideas. I might just. So what I'm doing here, I know it seems like I'm just kind of staring at things. What I'm trying to do is find clusters that can kind of combine into a single evergreen note that's pretty dense and has a lot of conceptual things to it. I'm still getting the hang of doing this, and I'm sure the process will change a lot as I continue doing this. But at least this way you can see kind of what the process looks like for me at this point in time, and we can all work and figure out what actually works for us. And sometimes it might just be I'm seeing some concepts in here that I can do something with. So I'm actually starting to see something we can use. I'm going to open this in the sidebar. There's some things here about becoming a better writer, how to write better in general and produce more better intellectual output. So I think we found a cluster finally. And I'm gonna use this Netflix principle. The whole Lindy effect thing is important here. Let's just see if there's anything else. That's for reading better. This is some difficulty. Bundling. Might be able to use something from this as well. Okay, so we've got a cluster identified. So the focus will be on how to write. Let's see. Let's do on. The title's the hardest part. I think naming anything is really difficult. So we need to think of something that will be a good entry point to help discover this in the future. So that's not what I want to do. Proving. Let's see if I do an evergreen namespace or not. I don't think I, yeah, I don't do one. I get some weird behavior with the search bar sometimes. Improving writing skill. I don't love this title. I'll probably change it eventually, but it's a start. Evergreen note, writing, art, blog, blogging. Add a Lindy effect here. I'll definitely change that title at some point. Okay, so we have, it's important to balance durable and indurable content. That's kind of tangential, but we'll include that for now. Let's see what my references are here. Lindy effect. This is the importance of durable content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a I'm going to open this. This is going to be another evergreen note. I think we can, we have some things to build off of here with the Lindy effect and durable content, but let's focus on writing process. So I want to just kind of get some thoughts out there. Durability, long-term relevance. We want to start with a smallest idea, atomic thinking. This is to kind of guide when I actually sit down and flesh out a note. I don't want to forget. A lot of my process is based around not forgetting when I get kind of a deluge of thinking. I don't want to forget that because I'm very apt to forget this. And I'll also move my head over here so we can see the sidebar. Long-term relevance. Ideas expand. And I mean, we're seeing that in action right now. We went from one evergreen node that I was kind of struggling with to two. We're going to share consistently. Invest in audience. Expose ourselves to good writing. Right. Okay, so we have a good outline of where this evergreen note could go. So I'm going to tag pretty much everything that's a noun almost in this. It's really important to do that. In writing, I think we can separate this out. When preparing to write, begin with the smallest idea possible. I'm going to add atomic thinking. I think this concept will come up in the future. The smallest idea possible, and something that can be explained in a single sentence. As you write more, we'll build more ideas that can be linked together. And tag ideas here. This will be separate from the light bulb ideas. If I do that, then that could pollute my ideas to process page. As you think through these, I'm going to do atomic ideas. So you think through these atomic ideas, they will expand. Idea fission. I like that. I like this whole analogy here, this metaphor rather. They will expand. Right about, so how many ideas they will expand. That. Change this to processed. So I've covered these two ideas. What will probably happen is that these will also be separated onto separate evergreen nodes at some point, because there are a few different clusters here. Kind of the beginning of writing stage, coming up with ideas. Then there's this idea of writing towards durability, and then how to share and grow your audience and how to become a better writer. So I think this will probably expand at some point, and this may become a hub page for the other evergreen nodes that this is unbundled or divided into. So I want to do something about durability. Should be durable with the goal of should be durable. I actually want to tag durable here because that's a theme that will be coming up a lot. Actually, let's make this fleeting content. And then here I'm gonna do durable, but the page I want to link is going to be durable content, because we have, this will allow us to link, this will link conceptually to this evergreen node. even though I have it down here, I like having it in the node itself. Feedback on ideas. So I think include this. So you can probably tell I kind of jump around a lot. I think it's at least helpful for me because I want to pursue these different avenues while they're still kind of fresh. So we've done that. I'm going to just add a to-do to remind myself these could be separated into their own units. So sharing your ideas, this is fleeting content. I really like this idea of fleeting versus durable content, and that comes from, see if I can find the article. It's this Building a Digital Garden article by Tom Cricklow. I really enjoyed this article when I was first investigating digital gardens when I started using Roam. They have this concept of stock versus flow. And so this transient node of balancing kind of the fleeting content or flow and the durable content or stock is really important here. So let me make sure I am on the literature note. So I want to take the transient note and throw it in here. But yeah, so these two content streams, I guess, are important to kind of master and make sure you're using both of them to, one, build your audience and get feedback rapidly, and then the durable content is what you actually give to people and to try to help them. So like this is something that is kind of hopefully more durable content, but this live stream, I mean, but these articles tend to be more durable at times because when they stop being durable, you can update them a little bit. So let's see, is there anything else? This is fleeting content that will help make your durable content stronger. So how do we invest in our audience? That's something I'm going to want to explore as well. But basically, to me, investing in the audience means is building knowledge products that can help them, doing these things like live streams, interacting, and spending time with them. And I don't like saying them with you guys. I look at it more as a community rather than audience and creator sort of thing. I like to share what I learn and try to help people out. So, oh, this should actually go under references. Keep it at that for now. And like I said, this is a very kind of, as I'm working on this idea expansion is kind of happening in real time. I'll probably eventually go back and turn these into separate evergreen notes. And writing skill. So this will be the last little part. So there's an overarching theme here of improving not just your writing, but your writing process, what you write, how to grow kind of overall as a writer, I guess, and how to grow your audience as well. So you're not just kind of shouting into the void, and then how to actually improve directly as a writer. So these are kind of united in that these are all things you need to be in my mind at least, to be a good writer. And so they're united in that sense, but they're also kind of separate parts. They're separate fingers on that same hand. So I want to I'll get back to this after I've had some time to kind of have some more diffuse thinking and figure out how I want to structure this. The beauty is, though, especially with Roam, it doesn't really matter. These blocks are, kind of live on their own. So if I want to write about, I just realized I should be tagging audience in here a lot, because I know I'm going to be, in the future, I'll probably search the term audience. And I also want to do audience. What was that? There's a link, or a block. Audience first products. That's what I want. I know I'll be looking for some of these in the future when I want to either write about this or think about it some more or whatever. So you can see in this evergreen note, there's a lot of tags here, a lot of links to different concepts. And I think this is probably the most powerful part of the evergreen notes. So when I want to go and say I want to get everything I know about the Lindy effect, this will be here. And so I'll have this concept, and this is kind of tangentially linked, which I think are the best linkages to have in Roam, actually, because they bring you to kind of trains of thought that you wouldn't have thought about before. So that's basically how I process my writing inbox. I hope you guys found it interesting. Maybe we'll do it again sometime soon. I like It's a nice way to spend the an hour or so in the morning, kind of get the juices flowing. Um, yeah, I have this importance of durable content. Maybe I'll revisit that some other time. It's there as an evergreen note. It's there to do, so it will get. Let me make sure I tag on improving your writing process first. So this way, when I go to work on this, I'll have some of the different transient notes and evergreen notes that informed this and kind of inspire the importance of durable content. So that will be something for next time. I'll have the information there in front of me, even though I'm not writing the full evergreen note yet. It's, as you can see, it's a pretty long process. So I think that's it. If there are any questions or anything, I'll stick around for just a few, maybe another minute or so. If you guys want to ask anything in the chat. If not, we'll hopefully see you again in a week or two. And I'd like to definitely do this again. It was a lot of fun for me. I'll also probably continue to try and improve my live streaming setup. Maybe do some background music or something. All right. I will see you all later.